Good afternoon, sir. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
Fred Dybeck, September.
Thank you, Mr. Dybeck. Mr. Dybeck, you are here on 2 Superior Court probation violation warrants. These are alleged violations, or 4 alleged violations of terms 3 and 5. I've appointed you an attorney. You have a probation hearing November 4th, 8:30 a.m. at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. I am affirming the bond in each of these warrants. It's in the amount of $1,250. It is secured appearance. Total is $2,500. So bail bonding companies generally require 10% plus collateral. That would be $250. If you pay your bonds, you will be released. You're then promising to go to court on all of your court dates. You're also promising to comply with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. In addition, you're not to possess any weapons. You're not to possess or consume any alcohol. You must submit to fingerprinting at the arresting police department and contact your probation officer within 72 hours of release. Mr. Dybeck, do you have any questions?
I'm having a problem with my probation officer. This is like the 4th officer I've had. I've been calling in. They keep switching probation officers, and I have no way to get a hold of them. I leave messages every day. I call in, and I have a new phone. They know my address. Nobody calls me back. I've been doing this for 2 weeks now. And this is the 4th probation officer I've had, and they're not communicating with me. The last one, she went on vacation, and nobody told me. And then all of a sudden, a probation officer came to the house where I was staying, and everything was good. And then something happened, and I got a new probation officer.
So, Mr. Dybeck, I guess, though, and I'm sure that's really frustrating, the issue, though, is you're not even showing up to appointments. And so even if you call your probation officer, generally people have to check in person every month. So you know where the probation office is. You always have that option available to you. I mean, what this is showing is it's been months since you have had any contact with probation.
So she usually comes to my house where I've been staying at. And then the last communication I had with her, she said, "You're doing fine, just keep doing what you're doing, and call me." And then all of a sudden, I get another probation officer. She goes on vacation or something, and then they switch it up again. So I understand what you're saying. Communication, I could go, you're right, I just should have gone into the office or find out what's going on.
Right, yeah, and I mean, that's what I'd say is, I mean, yeah. You've got to be proactive on these things, right? Yeah. Phone calls, hey, they're not answering. Well, then that should tell you, hey, there's a problem here because you've had your probation reinstated before.
Okay.
Right? You know.
Go to the office. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, just get it taken care of that way. All right, Mr. Dybeck, any other questions?
So I can bond out?
Yeah, bond's $2,500.
Okay.
All right, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Adrian James and then Paul Parkins will be on deck. Good afternoon, sir. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
Adrian James, 2.
Thank you, Mr. James. Mr. James, you're here on a municipal court new case and on a alleged Term 1 probation violation because of the new arrest. So in your new case, sir, I find probable cause for the allegations of assault, disorderly conduct, and criminal damage. Those are all misdemeanors. I have appointed you an attorney for limited representation regarding the bond issue only. You have an arraignment hearing at the Buckeye Municipal Courthouse November 6th at 1 p.m. I am setting bond amount of $1,000 in this case. You have a $250 bond in your, or excuse me, a $500 bond in your probation case. So total bond's $1,500. It is secured appearance. That means you can pay that directly or work with a bail bonding company. They generally require 10% plus collateral. So 10% of $1,500 would be $150. If you pay your bonds, you will be released. You're then promising to go to court on the 6th. You're also promising to comply with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. In addition, you're not to return to the scene of the alleged crime. You're not to initiate contact with any alleged victims, complainants, or witnesses, or have any physical contact with any alleged victims. You're not to possess any weapons. You're not to possess or consume any alcohol. You must find an alternative residence, provide proof of the same to the court, and you must obey the terms of any order of protection or injunction against harassment that has been issued or which may be issued. You also must contact your probation officer within 72 hours. You may have no contact with any victims for any reason, even if they contact you first, and you may not reside at the same location as an alleged victim, even if you are an owner or renter of the residence. You're entitled to one civil standby. That's where you contact local law enforcement. It's schedule a time to meet an officer who will escort you to the residence so that you can obtain your essential belongings. Mr. James, then you have your probation matter. Because of this arrest, it is an alleged Term 1 probation violation. I've appointed you an attorney. Probation hearing is scheduled November 4th at 8:30 a.m. That's at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. Again, bond in the amount of $500 with those same conditions and restrictions of release. Just one moment. Please, sir. I have just a slight typo on number 9. So one moment, sorry, just have a... Okay. Mr. James, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I just want to say, like, I don't know if I discussed this with you or to my next court date, but like, you said I was in an assault, but like, I never touched the guy that conflicted me. He's the one that hit me, and I was just like trying to wrestle him off of me. That was it. And I guess like which is my sister, his wife called the cops, and I knew like I wasn't supposed to be like in any police contact, but I mean I would have, because I lived with him, and he was intoxicated, and he was the one that punched me, assaulted me.
Okay.
And then the cops didn't. I don't know. Like he was intoxicated big time. Like and he told the cops different, and then they just arrested me right away.
Yeah. So Mr. James, I mean, you are innocent unless proven guilty. You can speak with an attorney about this. I do wish to let you know that what the police state is that there is video of you striking the victim first. So I'm just letting you know that that's part of what I'm going off of here.
No,
so you'll have the opportunity to get that video evidence.
Yeah, even the cops even told me, like, hey, let me see your knuckles. I never struck the guy, but I was wrestling him off of me. That's what it was.
Okay. And so, again, maybe there's a discrepancy here. I'm just letting you know what the police have put in here. And so you'll be able to talk to your attorney about that.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. James. Paul Parkins, and then Amber Alexis Baker will be on deck. Good afternoon, sir. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
Paul Everett Parkins.
Thank you, Mr. Parkins. Mr. Parkins, you are here on a Superior Court new case, on a surprise municipal court case, and on an alleged Term 1 probation violation. So in your new case, sir, I find probable cause for the allegations. 1 count of theft of means of transportation, that's a Class 4 felony. 1 count of possession or use of dangerous drugs, a Class 4 felony. 1 count of possession or use of drug paraphernalia, a Class 6 felony. I've appointed you an attorney. You have a status conference November 1st, 8:31 a.m. Preliminary hearing November 5th, 8:31 a.m. That's at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. I am setting a secured appearance bond in this case in the amount of $500 and a $500 bond in your probation case as well. You have a $50 bond in your surprise case. So total bond between all three would be $1,050. That's a secured appearance bond. That means you can pay that amount directly or work with a bail bonding company. They generally require 10% plus collateral. So 10% of $1,050 would be $105. If you pay your bonds, you will be released. You're then promising to go to court on all of your court dates. You're also promising to comply with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. In addition, you're not to return to the scene of the alleged crime. You're not to initiate contact with any alleged victims, complainants, or witnesses, or have any physical contact with any alleged victims. You're not to possess any weapons. You're not to possess or consume any alcohol. And you must contact your probation officer within 72 hours of release. Now, regarding your alleged Term 1 probation violation, I've appointed you an attorney. Probation hearing November 4th, 8:30 a.m., downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. Again, bond the amount of $500 with those same conditions and restrictions of release. Finally, you have a surprise warrant for theft, control of stolen property, a Class 1 misdemeanor. I have appointed you an attorney for limited representation regarding the bond issue only in this case, and you have an arraignment hearing November 5th at 8 a.m. at the Surprise Municipal Courthouse. Again, same conditions and restrictions of release. Mr. Parkins, do you have any questions?
Just if I may be released to pretrial services or house arrest, because I have to take care of my wife and my dog, and also I will want to prove to the court and everyone else, including myself, that I'm not a colossal screw-up. If I have the bond waived, I can do all of this, and I will. As my the one that I'm on probation for, is also for possession of paraphernalia, but I will be able to check into a treatment service or something like that upon release. I also don't know about the theft of means. I have a bill of sale for that, but that's, anyway, my wife bought the car. But, I do, beg you to please allow me to not have to pay a bond when I'm unable to do that at the moment because I don't have any steady income, but I will be able to check into a treatment facility or stay on house arrest. And I do live just right down the street off of Pecan Road on 35th.
So, Mr. Parkins, yeah, so according to the probation notes, you haven't checked in like you were supposed to after you were released. So there's that issue. And then, I mean, you're supposed to report within 72 hours. And
I was told Monday was when I was supposed to check in.
Okay.
As in tomorrow.
They tell people you have to check in within 72 hours.
My attorney told me to check in on the 28th.
So I don't know the discrepancies with that, but the other issue is, Mr. Parkins, is, I mean, you are on probation. Probation's a privilege that you don't have to go to prison. While on probation, that means you've got to really be careful about what you're doing. And so, you know,
yes.
Having the stolen vehicle, unfortunately...
It wasn't a stolen vehicle. It was purchased. We have the bill of sale, and
okay.
we bought that car, my wife and I.
Well, okay, so Mr. Parkins, I'm going to tell you right now, your story that you're telling me is different than what your wife told the police.
Okay.
So, unfortunately, I don't believe you, Mr. Parkins, so I am going to keep the bonds in place.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. If you'll please step to your left. Amber Alexis Baker, and then DeAndre Scott will be on deck. Good afternoon, ma'am. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
Amber Alexis Lee Baker.
Thank you, Ms. Baker. Ms. Baker, you are here on a Superior Court new case and on a Pinal County Pioneer Justice Court warrant. We'll start with that case. This is for failure to appear. I have appointed you an attorney for limited representation regarding the bond issue only. You have an arraignment hearing at the Pioneer Justice Court October 30th at 8:30 a.m. I have set bond in the amount of $500, or I'm affirming the bond in the warrant. You have the standard conditions and restrictions of release in this case. So it's a $500 bond in this case. It's just a $50 bond in the new case. So your total is $550. It is secured appearance, which means you can pay that directly or work with a bail bonding company. Because the amount's less than $1,000, some companies may not work with that number. I believe that there are some that will, but I don't know what their terms would be. So if you pay the bond or bonds, you'll be released. You're then promising to go to court on all of your court dates and, again, comply with those standard conditions and restrictions of release. Now, regarding your new case, I find probable cause for the allegations: one count of possession or use of dangerous drugs, a Class 4 felony, one count of shoplifting, a Class 1 misdemeanor. I've appointed you an attorney. You have a status conference November 1st, 8:31 a.m., preliminary hearing November 5th, 8:31 a.m. That's at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. As I stated, bond the amount of $50, same conditions and restrictions of release, plus you're not to return to the scene of the alleged crime in this case, and you must submit to fingerprinting at the arresting police department. Ms. Baker, I would have released you in this case, but because you have that warrant from Pinal County, I have to effect warrants or enforce warrants from other counties, so I can't change that amount. So that's why I've just put the low $50 in this case. Do you have any questions?
So am I going to be transferred to Pinal? Because I had my court date was today. So I was actually, at least what I got told is, since my court date was today at 2:30, I'm pretty sure, I was supposed to go over there and they were supposed to squash it because me and him had a Zoom call, and I even got the confirmation email, and I sent in the form that I was supposed to so that I didn't have a warrant. Okay.
Well, I'm not quite sure what the discrepancy was. So this warrant was issued October 1st. That means that's likely the day that you had court, that you missed court. Today's a Sunday, so that you wouldn't have had court today. But at any rate, you will be transferred to Pinal County and then can resolve that with the judge.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
So how much in total is it?
$550 is the total. All right, thank you, Ms. Baker. Good luck to you. DeAndre Scott and then Eric Laub will be on deck. Good afternoon, sir. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
DeAndre Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Mr. Scott, would you mind putting your arms through your sleeves, please?
Cold as fuck in here.
I understand, sir. This will just be quick. So, Mr. Scott, you're here on an Agua Fria Justice Court warrant. This is for driving with your license suspended, revoked, or canceled. You have an arraignment hearing scheduled for November 13th at 10:30 a.m. at the Agua Fria Justice Court. The judge has asked for a $630 bond. Mr. Scott, what I'd like to do is set what's called an unsecured bond. That means you'll be released today. It'll be about 4 hours to 6 hours from now. You'll be on your way. As long as you go to court on November 13th, that $630 bond will disappear and you won't have to pay a penny. But please understand, if you don't go on the 13th, you'll be arrested on a new warrant, and then you'll be brought back here. You'll likely have to pay a bond, plus you'll owe an extra $630 on top of that. So, Mr. Scott, if I do this, will you promise to go to court on November 13th?
Yes.
All right, I take you at your word. So all this information will be in your paperwork. You have the standard conditions and restrictions of release as well. Mr. Scott, do you have any questions?
No.
All right, thank you, sir. Good luck to you. Eric Law, and then Cameron Crawford will be on deck. Good afternoon, sir. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
Eric Law, 6.
Thank you, Mr. Law. Mr. Law, you are here on a Superior Court direct complaint arrest warrant. You are charged with one count of child or vulnerable adult abuse, a Class 5 felony. I've appointed you an attorney. You have a status conference November 12th, 8:31 a.m. Preliminary hearing November 14th, 8:31 a.m. That is at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. Mr. Law, I am going to release you on supervised release with an ankle monitor. That should mean that you will leave today. There's a possibility it won't be until tomorrow morning. But again, it should be today. So because you're being released, you're promising to go to court on all of your court dates, promising to comply with pretrial services supervision and with the information they give you about the ankle monitor, also with the standard conditions and restrictions of release, plus you're not to initiate contact with any alleged victims, complainants, or witnesses, or have any physical contact with any alleged victims. You're not to possess any weapons. You must obey the terms of any order of protection or injunction against harassment that has been issued or which may be issued, and you must submit to DNA and fingerprinting within 5 days of today's date. That's at the arresting police department, the DNA and the fingerprinting. Mr. Law, do you have any questions?
Yeah. So I was completely unaware that, I had a court case apparently, or a court date?
Well, yeah, so what happened is a direct complaint got filed. So you were arrested back in June, and then the court wasn't able to find you. They may have had an incorrect address. Their last contact information with you, I guess, wasn't correct. And so then that's why this warrant was issued.
Okay.
So it's not that you failed to appear, it's just that they couldn't find you, and then that's where the warrant comes from.
So then also I have a letter from Child Services saying that the case was dismissed.
So DCS, understand, is a separate entity, right? And so then this is a criminal case.
Okay.
And so the prosecutors have decided to bring these charges.
Okay.
So I've appointed you an attorney. You can speak with your attorney about the case. And the conditions and restrictions I've put in place, those are in place right now. Another judge can modify those.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions, sir?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Law. Cameron Crawford, and then Shelton Dotson will be on deck.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, sir. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
Cameron Crawford, March.
Thank you, Mr. Crawford. Mr. Crawford, you're here on a Superior Court failure to appear warrant. You have a case. The prosecution was suspended. It has been resumed. So you have a status conference on November 6th, 8:30 a.m. That is at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. Mr. Crawford, the recommendation was that I put a bond in place, but I'm going to give you a chance to get to court. So I'm going to release you on supervised release. That means you will leave here in about 4 hours to 6 hours from now. Because you're being released, you're promising to go to court on the 6th, promising to comply with pretrial services supervision and with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. In addition, you're not to return to the scene of the alleged crime. You're not to initiate contact with any alleged victims, complainants, or witnesses, or have any physical contact with any alleged victims. You're also not to possess any weapons, and you must submit to fingerprinting at the arresting police department within 5 days of today's date. Mr. Crawford, do you have any questions?
So I have to go do the fingerprints again from when I first did them the last time when I got arrested, when I had to, or I didn't even do fingerprints for that case, huh?
Yeah, I don't know, Mr. Crawford. Here's what I'd recommend is contact the arresting police department. Say, hey, I've got a judge's order. It says I'm supposed to do fingerprinting. If they have your fingerprints, they may tell you we don't need you to come in, or they may want you to still come in.
Okay, yeah, 'cause they got sent back to court 'cause I was doing my classes.
Mhm.
I don't know if you could see that or not, because I was doing my classes, then I broke my phone. I have no access to do my classes over my phone. Then I lost another phone. It was just
Okay.
stuff happening for me to not be able to communicate with them. And then I just talked to somebody like a week, maybe 2 weeks ago, and they told me that my stuff would get referred back to court, but they never sent me a letter, they never sent me an email.
Okay.
I got zero information about the case.
Yeah, so I'm giving you another chance, right? I'm releasing you.
I appreciate that so
Yeah.
much. I just wanted you to know the circumstances of the situation, so you
Okay.
didn't think I was just neglecting.
Neglecting it. No, I can appreciate that. I know things are very difficult when you lose or break cell phones.
Mhm.
So, yeah, you'll have a chance to talk to your attorney. I don't know whether they can reinstate the diversion or
clarity,
not,
yeah.
but you can talk to them about it.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Any other questions, sir?
No,
Thank you, Mr. Crawford. Good luck to
You too.
Good luck to you. Shelton Dotson and then Christopher Ponte will be on deck. Good afternoon, sir. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
Shelton Dotson, 40.
Mr. Dotson. Mr. Dotson, you're here on a Superior Court new case. I find probable cause for the allegations of one count of possession or use of dangerous drugs, a Class 4 felony, one count of possession or use of drug paraphernalia, a Class 6 felony. I've appointed you an attorney. You have a status conference November 12th at 8:31 a.m., preliminary hearing November 14th, 8:31 a.m. That's at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. Mr. Dotson, I'm going to release you on supervised release, so you're going to leave here in approximately 4 hours to 6 hours from now. Because you're being released, you're promising to go to court on all of your court dates, promising to comply with supervision and with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. In addition, you're not to possess any weapons, and you must submit to fingerprinting at the arresting police department. Mr. Dotson, do you have any questions?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Dotson. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Christopher Ponte and then Raymond McClendon will be on deck.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, sir. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
It's Christopher Ponte.
Mr. Ponte. Sir, you're here on a Superior Court new case. I find probable cause for the allegations, one count of criminal damage, a Class 5 felony, one count of criminal trespass in the first degree, a Class 6 felony. I've appointed you an attorney. You have a status conference November 12th, 8:31 a.m., preliminary hearing November 14th, 8:31 a.m. That is at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. Mr. Ponte, I'm going to release you on supervised release, so you are going to leave here in approximately 4 hours to 6 hours from now. Because you're being released, you're promising to go to court on all of your court dates, promising to comply with supervision and with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. In addition, you're not to return to the scene of the alleged crime, you're not to initiate contact with any alleged victims, complainants, or witnesses, or have any physical contact with any alleged victims. You're not to possess any weapons. Mr. Ponte, do you have any questions?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, sir. Good luck to you.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Raymond McClendon and then Elijah Harden will be on deck. Yes, right there, sir. Thank you. Good afternoon, sir. Could you please state your full name and provide your date of birth?
Raymond McClendon.
Mr. McClendon. Mr. McClendon, you're here on a Buckeye Municipal Court warrant. Let's see, you are charged with one count of disorderly conduct, fighting a Class 1 misdemeanor. Looks like the alleged offense date is August 3rd, 2023. You will have an attorney appointed at your next hearing. That will be an arraignment hearing at the Buckeye Municipal Courthouse, November 12th, 8:30 a.m. Mr. McClendon, I am going to release you on your own recognizance, so you're going to leave here in approximately 4 hours to 6 hours from now. Because you're being released, you are promising to go to court on all of your court dates. You're also promising to comply with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. Plus, you are not to initiate contact with any alleged victims, complainants, or witnesses, or have any physical contact with any alleged victims. You're not to possess any weapons, and you must obey the terms of any order of protection or injunction against harassment that has been issued or which may be issued. Mr. McClendon, do you have any questions?
No further questions.
All right. Thank you, Mr. McClendon. Good luck to you. Elijah Harden and then Jasmine Thomas will be on deck. Good afternoon, sir. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
Elijah Harden.
Thank you, Mr. Harden. Mr. Harden, you're here on an El Mirage Municipal Court warrant. Let's see. In this case, you are charged with 1 count of driving with your license suspended, revoked, or canceled, 1 count of leaving an accident with a damaged vehicle. Those are both misdemeanors. You're not entitled to court-appointed counsel due to the nature of these charges. However, you can hire your own attorney if you wish to do so. You have an arraignment hearing at the El Mirage Municipal Courthouse, November 12th, 8 a.m. Mr. Harden, I am going to release you on your own recognizance, so you will be leaving here in approximately 4 hours to 6 hours from now. Because you're being released, you are promising to go to court on all of your court dates. You're also promising to comply with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. Plus, you're not to initiate contact with any alleged victims, complainants, or witnesses, or have any physical contact with any alleged victims. Mr. Harden, do you have any questions?
Yes. So for the car accident, I was the car that was hit, and the other guy, he got away, and I was on the side of the freeway, and I sat there for 15 to 20 minutes, and I had to take my son to school. So it's my son is autistic, so it's I had to get him there. So when I left, I had got a call from a DPS officer, and he was like, well, we just had got a report of a crash, but the car is in my mother's name, so she had reported it. He had sent me an email to send him the pictures of the damages and stuff like that, and I did that, and I just never heard back from the officer again.
I see. So Mr. Harden, the judge in El Mirage will be the person to talk to about that. I believe everything you're telling me, okay? I understand about getting kids to school, all that type of stuff. So, again, what you're telling me is important. It's just for this hearing today, it wouldn't change anything, okay?
Yeah, I was just curious. Thank you, though.
Yes, you're welcome. Thank you, Mr. Harden.
Thank you.